I found some good forum posts and other posts for this one.
Oh no.
So we're talking about the WoW refugee crisis today. Ophi's not here because he's always late or MIA.
Build the wall.
No. We're not gonna build the wall. So we got Philo and Zinvo and Kai today.
Hi, everybody.
What up,
Zinvo's single, ladies. By the way.
Wow.
Back.
ladies?
Where the
Ladies.
hell did that come from?
I don't know.
Hey,
You,
I'll have you-
the way you said it, I was like,
I'll
He's-
have you know, I too am single, gentlemen.
please stay away from Philo.
Be careful, he might write a fanfic about you.
Oh my.
Uh,
Insert plug here.
Insert plug for Philo streams here.
insert shameless promotion. Or whatever. Brain's not working. So, what's the topic for today?
Tonight's topic is the WoW refugee crisis we're having. So, I saw this forum post on the r/MMORPG, and it reads, WoW refugees in FFXIV. This was made about 4.5 months ago, but it's still valid. So it goes, lots of guild members are leaving my WoW guild for many games, but the game most people go after the horror that is BFA seems to be FFXIV. What's the reason for it? Is it because it's different and new, or it feels like what WoW used to be before? Or is something completely different that I'm not understanding? Getting real tired of this and probably not going to resub after trying out the new raid. What do people expect to be different in FFXIV? Thank you in advance. So it's just a whole thread, and I'll link it in the Twitch chat. But it's happening at a very, very rapid rate. Just this, like, within the last week, I've seen so many WoW streamers. They're playing Final Fantasy 14 now, and they're appearing on, like, you know, they're appearing with, like, Work to Game and Ethis Asher and Mr. Happy, and there's so many of them just showing up now. And I've seen a few people like post their stories from that play FFXIV now, and they're saying why they left WoW, because most of the community we have now came from WoW. So I feel like this is both good and bad for this game. Mostly
Why do you
because
think bad?
bad for two reasons. One is WoW's community is absolute shit. As someone who's played WoW, I never want to go back. I absolutely hate the WoW community's guts just because of how I was treated when I played. But this was years ago, so it might be different now. But
I don't know. I think it is still the same.
I
mean,
did not appreciate being yelled at in raid. I didn't appreciate being called names by guild mates in quotation marks. I didn't appreciate expecting to perform at a certain level just to hang out with some people. It was very not good. Look, little Supa was a dumbass, granted, but I knew that I wasn't supposed to be treated that way, and I didn't understand why anyone would stick around and continue to play in that environment, so I just quit. But
for me, like, I was in two guilds. The first one was actually the one I liked the most. Granted, we didn't really get super far in content just because it was more just casual. But the other group, it just seemed like it was it was very strict. Like, it was like you had to be pulling numbers, and if you weren't, you were like kicked.
that was another big thing I saw in a lot of WoW guilds, especially the bigger ones. If you don't, like, perform, I kind of just said it, if you don't perform at a certain level, people won't, like, take the time of day even to talk to you. They'll just, like, tell you to fuck off and go away, and you're bad at this game. Why would you ever expect to play? I remember there was one guild, I don't remember, it was like the top rating guild in WoW, and what they would do is they had people they would pay to help organize their guilds and stuff, because they were huge. and they would just have people crunching numbers, seeing who was the best and who to take into raids, and I was like, why would you do this? This is they would literally had people who were min-maxing the guild to get clears based on player performances. They would have people look over and pour over calculations.
So it's like Gilgamesh plus 10.
It's like Gilgamesh on crack cocaine, dude. Like, FF logs is a thing, but it's nowhere near that. I'll tell you that right now.
To put things into perspective for those who haven't played World of Warcraft, if you have ever done Savage content in this game, and you know the atmosphere, everyone's like tense. They're learning mechanics and stuff like that, but yet they're willing to learn. Whereas in World of Warcraft, you're expected to know what the mechanics are, even if it's new. And then on top of that, you're supposed to be pulling high numbers. If you're a mage, you're basically a food bot, because in that game you have to eat food to increase your stats. And it's not like in this game, it was you had to use a spell in order to summon it was like a dining table or something. If you were a warlock, you had to be the guy that's like, oh, here, I'll open a portal so we can get to said location. And it was just like, it felt like you were almost being used in a way. But yeah, people were very strict with raids and stuff like that in World of Warcraft. And if you had a really shitty internet connection or a really shitty PC, or both, like in my case, you were basically like yelled at 24/7. Oh, and yeah, you always had to bring your potions.
That was WoW 8 years ago. Well, this is a podcast that is a conversation. So if you want to add something to the podcast, feel free to type it in chat and we'll talk about it. A lot. Kai and Philo never played FFX. I mean, WoW. I played for a while. Zimbo played for a while, and
I played for quite a while. I got to the end of Wrath of the Lich King. And then my account got blacklisted.
The fifth member of our podcast who's not here played WoW a bunch too, so he's like late, and he's always late, so he'll probably show up like halfway through the podcast and be like, "Oh, lol, you guys are all wrong, bad info."
I'm aware that I'm sure mechanics and stuff like that for dungeons, character. Well, I know when what was it? Not Mists of Pandaria. There was the expansion on where you could play as Demon Lord, guy with green eyes and has he's like a demon slayer or some shit. Anyways, I know in that the skill trees got changed completely, and you had to use if it was merit points or something like that. I only knew just because I watched a little bit from a content creator, WoW Krendor, on it, and he kind of went over some things. And then also I just heard from a couple of my friends that still do play World of Warcraft.
So, go ahead, finish what you're saying.
And the thing is with, I don't know if they've changed it or not since then, but I know that no matter what you did, you had to build like the meta. Because if you didn't, your DPS wasn't optimized, or you weren't able to hold enough hate if you were a tank or some random crap. But regardless, it gave you choice, but it was only something that was fun for those who played casually, instead of those who meant business.
So, Ketsor says, I rated at top end a year ago. My guild provided every consumable. At the end of tiers, we would sell mounts in order to supplement all of the consumables we used. Plus, travel nowadays isn't even comparable to then. It's simple to get around now. Granted, you are right, the WoW community is more toxic, but there's also more casual guilds, more comparable to FFXIV. There's a lot of options. Yeah, that's why the chat cut off. I was like, did I read that right? I agree. I do have some friends from a different time period of my life when I played Korean MMOs that still play WoW, And they are very casual. They do play, but they have their own horror stories. And I do have horror stories from FFXIV too, but the ones they tell me are like, they make my stories look like baby mode, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that, FFXIV doesn't. That is my first and foremost concern about the WoW refugee crisis, though. I'm afraid that all these toxic shitlers are going to come over here and try to fuck up the game, but I don't think they even have a chance if they try to, honestly.
Depends. It depends on what server they go to, but at this point...
Aether's congested as shit. No one's getting in there. Crystal and Primal are the only other two options. And Primal's the casual server, and Crystal's the roleplay server. We're on Crystal, so I'm assuming we're target number 1. Who wants to go to the casual data center?
Yeah.
Kai, tell him the story. Tell him the story of the other day when you just lost your shit in officer chat.
What? Oh my god.
Tell him the story.
I have many. What was I complaining about that time? Oh, it was the ship healers. I died. Yeah, I was in Arbonne, and I died to every single boss for lack of healing. Like, the healers just wouldn't heal. Like, the raid wides would go, and we would all be there, and then the other raid wide would go, and the entire party was dead, because they wouldn't heal.
Oof.
That was it for every single boss.
Yeah, and we've kind of touched on that topic in the past before, that Crystal's player skill is not anywhere where it should be. The player base of this data center is not good at the game. I don't imagine it's any better over on Primal, though, and I don't want to be on Aether with the queue times they're going to have to endure when Shadowbringers drops. Poor bastards. You know what's going to happen? We're gonna get off this, and I'm going to read chat real quick. They're going to get congested to shit just like they did at Stormblood, and then everyone's going to transfer to Primal and Crystal. Like, it's going to happen all over again.
Oh, yeah.
Because people are going to be like, I just want to play the game. And I was like, I told you. Why'd you go? Why'd you go to Aether? You wanted to play. Anyway. So, Kretzers said, but yes, you're correct in saying that it can be... Thanks for subbing, Nix. That means a lot. Seriously. Thank you. But yes, you're correct in saying that it can be more hardcore in meta. It doesn't have to be, though. It all depends in what group you hang with. Yep, I agree with that. And then Shadow says, I have been in 3 guilds in WoW, and the only ones that were casual was the RP guild I was in. The first one would demand you have specific damage amounts per dungeon runner. Jesus Christ. It was weird. I agree with you, Shadow. That is very, very weird, and you probably shouldn't be hanging out with those kind of people, honestly. I mean, maybe it's me, but every time I've hung out with people that expect players to perform at a certain level in casual content that is like superb level or high above average, I usually don't get along very well with them. Shadow says it was never advertised as hardcore either, which that happens. That's I had back when I worked at the prison, and just don't ask about that. I had one of my coworkers was actually an RP guild leader for WoW. And she would just like maybe I misinterpreted what she was saying, but it came out clear as day to me. We would talk about MMOs because I was playing this at the time. It was ARR days, and she was like, "Oh yeah, one of my officers, he didn't do an event. I had to pull him aside and yell at him for a little while." I'm like, "Oh, you just had to tell him, you got to do the event," because I had become an FC leader by this point, and. I was like, oh, you just had to tell him, come on, you gotta get on it. And she's like, no, I kind of just like screamed into my microphone. I'm like, you're joking, right? There's no way you'd do that. And she's like, no, I gotta get on him or else they won't do it. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me, dude. You're part of the problem. It was a lore night, by the way. Remember how I do my lore nights? Imagine me shouting at everybody because you didn't want to hear how Behemoth works. Anyway, Ozzy and I were in a huge guild that forced DKP. That's a 50. Oh no, I'm not doing that here. I'm sorry, that meme is overused. But it is funny to this day, and I'm never gonna forget it. Yeah, Shadow, good. You made the right choice. That's what Shadow said. That's why I ran from that and said, "Fuck you." Do that. And hey, Philo.
Yeah.
What you were saying something earlier about FF11 during when WoW was getting really big, and you had people like fleeing from WoW and coming to 11.
Yeah. So back in 11, during its prime time, like we had WoW refugees in 11, and they said that 11 was a lot better than WoW.
Like in what regards? Like via combat or just the community or?
It was a mixture of things. Like there was both the combat and the community. Because like in 11, like it's a lot slower paced game. And there wasn't really ways to keep track of like DPS and stuff like that back at that time, because Final Fantasy 11 was you didn't really have ACT until later on in the years. And when we finally did get ACT, it was kind of like, what is the actual damage percentage that you should be doing, right? Because like I remember when ACT first came out for 11, I was in a party with a ranger as my blue mage, and we were fighting in like Colibri, and like my ranger friend was good. He was really good. I was like, I talk a lot of mad shit about my blue mage being great and stuff, but like I was okay. I wasn't like an actual great blue mage. But when he was comparing our damage like on Colibri, which in 11 you had piercing damage, right? So being a ranger, all his shots are piercing, so he's getting like a damage bonus kind of thing. Whereas I'm not, because I'm using swords and stuff. But my damage was more or less comparable to his ranger damage. And it's kind of like, so like you didn't really, like, even if we had parsers, you weren't really sure what was the actual good numbers you were supposed to be putting out.
Yeah, so there was just basically there was no way to form an expectation around something you couldn't understand.
Yeah, there was no expectation whatsoever. And like, how Neko says that they had forced DKP. Like in my guild, we were a serious raiding guild, right? I'd get calls at 4 a.m. in the morning to go get what we called H&Ms, right? These were basically really powerful monsters that spawn once every 24 hours and drop highly prized loot, basically. And I'd get calls at 3 or 4 in the morning. That's how, like, I guess you could say hardcore we were. And we had a DKP system as well, but the way our DKP system worked was like you showed up to H&Ms, you showed up to events, you just showed up to do stuff, you got points, right? It wasn't based off of your performance or anything. If you like really fucked up, then we'd probably kick you just cause, but that'd be like a serious like fucking up kind of thing.
Turning Fafnir on purpose.
No, I fucking my guild loved when I fucking did that, because then we'd.
Well, so.
But
Oh, go ahead. Finish what you're.
But yeah, but like a lot of the players came over. Final Fantasy 11 was slower paced, and the community wasn't as toxic. And at the time, like, our servers were kind of mixed with the JP players as well. And a lot of JP people, even though they like, they kind of keep to themselves, like, once you got to know them and they got to know you, they were really helpful. They would always, like once you made friends with a JP person, like my guild did, we had this one JP guy. He eventually left our guild, but he always, like, we just asked him, be like, hey, we need some help on this, like, H&M or this event. And he'd be like, yeah, I'll be over there right now. Like, he'd come over any time of the day. I swear the guy played like 24/7 because he was always on, and he was always ready to fucking help, like, no matter the time of day. Because we would always take like screenshots of kills and stuff, and he'd always be there, like, every single screenshot, even though he wasn't part of the guild. But anyway, like, and like more or less every guild had their like JP guy that was friends with the guild, and and not only the English community but the JP community, both were really like nice with each other. As long as you were competent in the game, you like everyone was friends with each other. Not great, like in WoW. Not like you have to be doing everything fucking fantastic. No, this was just as long as you were competent in the game, everyone got along, which is really what you're supposed to be. Like it's not a high floor that you need to meet. It's just you just need to know what you need to do, and that's it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that with this game too. All the normal content, as long as you're, I'll put it in quotation marks, semi-competent, you can clear almost all the content. Fuck you to the like 17 people that said Shinryu EX was too hard. You're bad at this game. Anyway, but this game is, you don't have to push out the biggest numbers, or you don't have to, I can tank as a scholar, okay? The role systems are not set in stone. If I really need to, I can tank. Hell, like, an hour ago we ran roulettes with 3 DPS and a healer.
That was pretty fun.
And so it's not... this game is flexible, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. If you want to be the guy who wants to push out the top numbers, wants to be the best, wants to show up as, purple or gold parses on FF logs, there's content for that. It's out there. You can do it, but the content's hard. It's not like WoW where you just get the people together and, just go. So let me catch up on chat. The RP guild was so fucking casual with that. It was actually fun. The amount of bar fights that had to be stopped was funny. It was just mayhem. They also did other events with other guilds and such. And Pi says the JP community was so nice most of the time. And then Neko says, I remember you tanking with me and Alexander. I'm still triggered. Just because I was a undergeared paladin who spammed cover on you to stop the tank busters does not mean I am a bad tank. I just didn't want to take aggro. I was like, I bet I can cheat this. I'm going to just use cover. We needed an 8th and no one wanted to go, and queue times were long. So I was like, okay, I can cheese this, and that was a giant mistake, which I will never do again. Tilly was murdered every time because she was a white mage. And they pull aggro. So the other concern I guess I had was the congestion. We kind of already touched on it, but I don't think they were expecting that a big chunk of the WoW community was going to come over here. They can stress test the servers all they want, but I'm starting to lose faith that they're going to be able to handle the amount of people that are going to be playing at Shadowbringers launch. Because
go ahead.
Because it seems like every launch there's a problem. Like ARR, it was just heavy loads. The servers were just garbage because the low budget LOL, and they had to go. I remember this too. Closed beta and open beta got delayed, both of them, and launch had to be pushed back like a month or two because they just didn't have the servers to handle the amount of players playing. In Heavensward was probably the good one in quotation marks. The worst I ran into was falling through the map and lag because there were too many people. But and then we get to Stormblood, and we can't even play the content because Raubon decided to plop down a wall in front of us and say Mexico paid for this. So, if you haven't heard me say this yet, I stand by it. Do not play Shadowbringers on launch day. That Tuesday, July 2nd, do not boot up the game. Do not log in because the weekend warriors are going to be out in force. The ones that didn't pre-order, didn't early access. They're gonna all try to get whatever they need done, and the servers are gonna explode. I didn't take that Tuesday off. I worked that day. I was like, I'll just go play early access and skip launch day because I know I'm gonna be at work and I'm gonna look at my phone and the entire like FFXIV subreddit is gonna be on fire because something's gonna break or like Aether's gonna shut down. Remember, even during Stormblood, Gilgamesh and Balmung both shut down because there was too many people on them.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
And that's how a lot of people got through Raubon EX, by the way. Thank you for taking one for the team, guys.
I don't understand why people aren't doing the the early access? Like, why are they just waiting until the
Because the theory behind doing early access is like, oh, I'm not going to do early access. They got bugs to work out. They got they got things to kind of do. But I've never encountered a huge bug problem in early access other than in Heaven's Word. There's a certain fate that spawns in the Dravanian hinterlands. And it's right where a cutscene happens. So if you are in the cutscene and the fate spawns, you literally cannot progress the story because the monsters will attack you, and they'll keep knocking you out of the cutscene.
I remember that. It was all those little pet guys.
It was all those little jellyfish.
Yeah, they were like right there at the beginning of the zone. It was like 100 of them for some reason. I remember that.
But sorry. Let me just catch up on chat. I started on Heavensward's launch. I was fine then, but I stopped around Stormblend, so I didn't get to see that launch. You dodged a bullet there, TBH. Shadow says, I thought he became Gandalf. Nick says, so are you telling me to not expect my Fantasia not to come 5 minutes after I order it? No. It's going to take like 2 years, dude. G-Hobo says, I'm going to be out of town next week when Shadowbringers comes out. I actually think it's a blessing. Any issues that might pop up on launch that day I won't have to deal with, and hopefully by the time I log in, the game will have settled a bit. The only downside to, I find anyway, I don't know if it's the same for other people, but the only downside to not playing during launch, and I did this during ARR and I was kind of bummed out, it's that you miss out on the community aspect of it. Because everyone's playing and it just feels so cool. But it's fine, honestly, if you miss it. I just like doing it because I like to be here. I've played this game way too much not to be there. So, yeah. But we should probably try to backpedal back onto the topic. So I feel like the reason we're getting so many WoW refugees is that Blizzard has just stopped caring. I feel like, I don't know, I don't really keep up with WoW like I used to, because I used to try to keep up with all the MMORPG communities I could back when I played Korean MMOs, because I didn't have a job and I didn't have money to waste on MMOs. But it seems like lately, don't you guys have phones? The whole WoW Classic thing. They're like, oh, you guys don't want this. We know what you want. You guys just think that you want. Which I will say, that guy does know what he's talking about to an extent. No one wants to play WoW Classic. Who wants to play WoW Classic?
I know a lot of people that want
the only people who want to play WoW Classic remember the community of it. The quality of life in WoW Classic was garbage. It's bad. Like, it's not something I would ever want to return to, honestly. But if there is a community that forms around WoW Classic, it will be a success. If it's like everyone's going to be interested for like a month or two, and then people are going to start dropping off, I guarantee you they're going to shut down those Classic servers. Because there's the reason a lot of us say, oh, Heaven's Word was so cool, but looking back with what we have now and then looking back to Heaven's Word, if we went back and played Heaven's Word, I'll guarantee you some of us are going to be like, oh, I remember this feature. It was so awful. I don't ever want to deal with this. You guys want to go back to, like,
Hey, I liked Mage Bard. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. You guys want to play Bard that has cast times, or Machinist with Gaussparrow that has cast times, or, like PS3 limitations, the whole, oh, look at how bad these textures look. Like, okay, like I don't like ragging on this game too much, but go to some of the Heavensward areas, like some of the really good looking ones, okay, and just like zoom in on the textures, like just zoom in, go into first person mode and just look at them. You will want to barf. They do not look good, dude. So, but I just feel like Blizzard doesn't care about their games anymore. It feels like they've become this, worst case scenario, corporate entity that just wants everyone's money. Look at Overwatch. Overwatch was so cool. And now it's like, what'd you do to this thing?
See, I think what they did was they didn't stop caring. I think they spread themselves too thin. I mean, you look at all the projects they're doing. It's like,
look at Diablo.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like I just feel like they're splitting their teams up too thin, and they can't handle all the negative criticism that they're finally getting now.
Yeah, they have Hearthstone, they have Overwatch, they have like
StarCraft 2,
like
they've got
there.
Diablo, they've got they've got a lot of shit, and they spend a lot of time on like the Overwatch cinematics and the Hearthstone cinematics and stuff like that. It's just like I think they're going too far into marketing, and they're not going as deep into game development as they should be.
I mean, it's not just a game development problem, it's also a PR problem. Like, I don't... Okay,
Yeah, that's true.
this is kind of a side topic, but game development happens in a very toxic environment. The game devs are not unionized. Like, they have set deadlines they have to meet. They don't really have unions. So it's... If you've ever worked for a place that doesn't have unions, which I have, it's very, very stressful at times if, like, your bosses are just riding your ass because you can't do anything about it. Like, what, you're gonna go tell someone about this? You're gonna call the BBB? Guess what? You're fucking fired. So I feel like the game devs are probably stressed out because there's, like you said, they're spread way too thin, and Blizzard, being the corporate entity that it is, just wants to keep pushing out this content. Just keep pushing out content. Add Sombra to Overwatch. Add more cards to Hearthstone. Give WoW another expansion. Make BFA, and then look how everything just turns out. It's just so disappointing. And it's also the people they put in charge of, like, community managers. There was that community manager on Twitter that was like, I don't like talking to these people, I just fucking block them. I'm like, oh my god, dude, who put this guy in charge of community management? Fire him, move him. Do not leave him there. He is not cut out for this job. I don't understand not being able to do your job as a community manager, honestly. That sounds like the fucking coolest job in the world. You just shitpost all day on Twitter with a bunch of people who play the game too. Let me just catch up on chat. Big Penny Boy says the classic meme is now being fueled by nostalgia. This is very true. I feel like a lot of people these days look back on older games and say that was so cool, and then they play them and they're like, yeah, it was really cool in the year 1999.
Or they do play it for a little bit, and then they're like, oh, well, I had my fun.
I mean, if you want to, like, get a comparison from this game, you look at Eureka. A lot of people were really excited for Eureka when it first came out, and then they're like, oh, this is just like leveling in Valkyrie Dunes, and then, like, 2 hours into it, and they're like, oh no, this is just like leveling in Valkyrie Dunes. So, it's nostalgia is not a good thing to base your game. Having little references and Easter eggs, this game does it very well. Having those in the game are perfect because you don't mimic a playstyle or anything. But like with Eureka, they were able to make it so there was a community that did form out of it. And if you watch, let me just plug a content creator here. If you watch Ms. Tech's 15 questions that she asked Yoshida, which by the way I believe was the best interview out of all of them. It was cut and dry, no nonsense, no funny banter, which I love. I love people who do funny banter, but you're sitting down with the game director of a game you love and play, and you know you're in the case of the content creators, your life is dependent on. So I would ask the most hard-hitting questions I could find that haven't been asked before, and Ms. Tech nailed it all except the how do we cut down the quest from ARR to Heaven's Word, and the answer to that is you fucking can't unless you revamp the whole thing. But anyway, you know, the Eureka has made it into the point where there is going to be a second Eureka iteration. They're going to make another one, and they asked him, you know, was it intentional that you thought players would every time I bang my table the mic dies. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll stop banging the table. Hold on, I think someone's messaging me. Stop pounding on your desk. Okay, sorry. Okay, let me just...
It was getting angry.
No. So they did ask, you know, was it intentional that that communities were going to form around Eureka? Did you want Baldesti and Arsenal to become as toxic as it is? Is it, you know, do you want to do that again? And they said, you know, Baldesti and Arsenal was great in people doing it and feedback. We got a lot of feedback from it, and we did intend for people to kind of create their own communities to run this content because they didn't want to create like a DF for it because they thought, it kind of loses the flavor of that old school MMO. We want people to talk to each other and make friends, which, by the way, I made a shit ton of friends in Eureka. Just saying. And I feel like WoW, because they've taken that away. They don't have they have like us. They have like a duty finder and that's it. And you can do pre-mades and stuff and all that, but there's no incentive anymore to really go out into the world, talk to people, make friends, because everything's automated these days in MMOs. You just queue into a duty finder, you get a party, you join a PF that's advertising, we're gonna go kill Seryu, or you just don't talk to people anymore in MMOs, and I feel like that really really hurts the flavor of MMOs. But this game has created a nice balance. Like for the mega casuals, you just do your fucking DF. Like queue in a DF, you did your like 3 roulettes for the day, you log out. Or if you're hardcore, you do have the option to tackle the hardcore content and actually talk to people. And that's where you make friends. Or, if you're like us, who we don't even usually tackle hardcore content, we just play the game a lot, shitpost, and we enjoy that we all play the game at a above average level. No. Except
we RP.
We do, no, Philo does. And Kai does too on the side. He
No, I don't.
Yes,
Kai's just a slut on the side. That's all he is.
Whoa.
That's true.
But yeah, I'll stop banging. But yeah. So I feel like that's why WoW has been losing a lot of that flavor, and I did kind of watch Zepla's video a little bit. As much as I don't really care for Zepla too much, I just figured I'd listen. And she said over time everything became more automated. I lost friends, people quit, and one day before I tried FFXIV, I was just sitting in my garrison because my garrison basically ran itself, and I have never felt so alone in an online MMORPG. And I was like, bam, that's it right there. That'll kill your MMO so fast. You just lose the need to interact with the community. And like for casuals, that's great because they don't want to interact with the community because they just want to log in and play the game. But for everybody else, no, don't do that to us. We need to be able to talk to people. That's why we play MMOs. We would just go play Final Fantasy like 12 or 13, 9 or something if we wanted to get our Final Fantasy fix. We play because we want to play with people. But with WoW, I don't know, dude. It just feels like you have a lot of the diehards who are still on there. And that's it. Like, casuals, do you even really count them at this point? They're just automated bots. What do you... If you play an MMO all by yourself, are you even really playing an MMO? That's probably a better question.
Yeah, like there's no... Like an MMO, there's no point in really playing one if you're just gonna like solo play all the way. Like I've come across players who say like, they have anxiety disorders and stuff like that, but probably playing an MMO is probably not the best idea because you're gonna come across people basically. I see Pi in the fucking background over here, stalking us.
Big Panty Boy says, I wonder why there's such a big push for casuals in MMOs when most of the revenue probably comes from the hardcore players. That's actually not true, unfortunately. Casuals make up a huge part of the marketing value. They're the people you see, they log in maybe once, twice a day, and then they run like 2 roulettes for an hour and a half, and then they log out. But that's the problem. Like, subscriptions are even. You can have the $15.99 for multiple characters, or you can do the $12.99 for one character. Everyone's sub is the same, and you want to maximize the amount of income for all the players, and they have to appeal to the casuals because they want them to play. And like it or not, that shitty gray samurai who's spamming Genpoo in the back and not even doing anything, he's paying for your Savage content. He's paying for your ultimate. And piece of shit he is, at least he's giving you content.
The other thing is that's what Big Panty Boy said is true, but not for this MMO. That is true in a game like, say, Black Desert Online, which I also play. In Black Desert Online, the majority of all the in-game shop items that you can buy with real money are bought by the high-end hardcore groups, guilds. But the reason why that happens is mainly because of in-game mechanics. Because the items they offer in that game are more tailored towards things being easier if you pay real-life money for it. In this game, however, like Supa was pointing out, the subscription, it doesn't matter if you have the $12.99 or the $14.99. But in this game, the casual players, the RP players that I've been coming to find out, are more than likely going to have the $14.99 subscription over the $12.99 subscription. The reason because is that they have one character which they do content with, then they have another character that they do RP with. Likewise, in this game, the cash shop items aren't for mechanics. They're not to make the game easier, aside from retainers.
Jump potions.
Jump potions.
Yeah.
So, but those were more or less aimed towards people who wanted to get in the game and start playing with their friends. That was the intent originally, anyway. Now it's just everyone buys them and does whatever.
You're telling me I wasn't supposed to buy every single jump potion?
God damn it, Supa. But aside from those, like everything in the cash shop is glamour, right? And who's going to be more interested in glamour, like your hardcore raider or your casual person? And it's going to be your casual person who's going to be more interested in these cash shop items for the glamour.
And the gays.
And the gays. Which, oddly enough, we have a large majority in this game.
We have a very large LGBTQ community in this game, but let me just get this out of the way here. We're glad to have them, but I don't understand everyone and their mom being like, we're LGBTQ friendly. I'm like, bitch, this whole game is. I don't see I haven't seen anybody like I did in Baron's chat and WoW saying the F word 50 times and not getting banned because no one bothered to call the fucking GM. So let me just catch up on chat here. Pi says she's babysitting. Niz says I've Fantasia'd 105 times so far. I think I'm keeping one of their employees in their job. Costumes for $30 in BDO with stats. No.
What?
Yeah,
I've heard.
That is a thing.
I've heard about those.
I may or may not be guilty of that. I plead the fifth though.
For the most part, the most I played, the whales are what make up 80-90% of the cash shop revenue for the game. Yeah, Philo's got a good point. It's just a side note here, I played Mabinogi before I really transitioned over to this, and we had people in that game spending thousands of dollars a month for like glamour items and the gachapon items, some of which increased your stats in the pet shop, and it was, I mean, I probably spent over 1K on that game myself, but I had a lot of fun, and that's over the course of like 5 or 6 years, TBH, by the way. So don't.
Yeah, over 5 or 6 years. That's like a subscription, basically. Anyway.
Yep. It's basically what it was for me.
I thought you meant like $1,000 just bam in the span of like not even 3 days.
No. I'm talking over the course of like my entire game career with that game, and I played from high school until midway through college. So. Now, it was a good chunk of my life, and I don't regret it. So, let me just continue with chat. You can't fight crime if you're not cute. Okay, Tiru, you want to calm down there? Baron's chat. And then Shadow says, yeah, WoW had those terrible types of people shouting vitriol all hours of the day in chats. I mean, FF11 is kind of like that now to an extent, but I'm not going to forget the things I saw in Baron's chat. Like... you just see I mean, I still see screenshots to this day if I just like Google Baron's chat. I saw one where people were just shouting about Trump and how he's the greatest person ever, and I was like, how is this allowed?
Isn't the Barons like a horde area?
It's but it's
I played Alliance, so I never saw anything like that.
You don't ever want to see Baron's chat, dude. That was like the bottom of the barrel people hung out there. Like you think Moonguard is bad? You go to Baron's chat and you're like, I want to go back to Moonguard.
So I think part of it was because I never paid attention to chat. Well, in most MMOs, I never did pay attention to chat because I had no reason to.
Yeah, even in this game, I don't really pay attention that much to chat, mainly because Discord, right? I pay more attention to Discord rather than chat.
Yeah. No, I think getting kind of back on topic here, I feel like the servers are going to be congested for a while, but I think we're going to get a little bit of relief come like late August because that's when WoW Classic's going to come. And I think a lot of WoW players might transition to that. We'll see. Could be wrong, but you never know.
Shadow does have a good point. Yeah, no, there's I played both Alliance and Horde. It's bad here too, just in a different way. Barons was just cancer, and I agree with that to an extent. While we don't have people shouting the F word 50 times in chat and not getting reported for it, here it's a different problem. Here it's passive aggressive. Everybody's just passive aggressive.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way you can get around the filters and the GMs, right? Just being passive aggressive.
And if you so much as like seriously call someone out and they report you, there's more than likely you're gonna get GM jailed, and the GM's gonna talk to you and be like, what are you doing? So if you want to see like the worst of the worst, you just go to the official forums for this game. I've been banned from there for saying bullshit. I literally said the word bullshit and got banned. Like, it is not a hospitable place for discussion. I'm telling you that right now. The GMs there, way too strict, and the people who hang out there, not the best people. They are not nice people. They are very mean.
Very, very.
I'm not joking. They are not nice. Like, if you have an opinion and you stay down there, chances are they're gonna respond to you with some snide remark, and it's not even gonna be that bad, but it's gonna make you upset.
Oh, one thing that just crossed my mind: when we get these WoW refugees over and they get up to the higher levels, because they're going to progress through the leveling system pretty quickly. We're going to be dealing with a lot of people who are just going to be handing out misinformation because they're going to be basing this game off of WoW, and they're going to be treating it like WoW mechanics when...
I mean, we already see that in the form of paladins provoke. Any tanks provoke. I see it all the time. They'll use Voke, and they think it's a taunt. It's not how Voke works in this game. Or like, they don't know that healers have to dump aggro. That's not something they usually had to deal with. Or even DPS dumping aggro isn't too much of a thing. I mean, they're there, but and I don't know. There's just I guess I'm just worried that we're gonna get such an influx of people that it's just gonna not be sustainable for us, because there's no way the server infrastructure can handle having all of the people from WoW come over here. Maybe it seems like the servers were built for around 5,000 to 10,000 people at a time for each server. Data center wise, it's probably around like 20,000-30,000 at a time. And then I don't know. I just don't want to be able not to play, dude. That's probably my oh god, pre-hotting between pulls. Please don't remind me about that.
I hate that. When they do that to me, I just click it off. We recast it when I pull everything.
I see that.
And then they get mad at me.
Hold on, guys. I need to precast Medica 2 before we pull this boss. There's a few others. You do it all the time. Precast ley lines. I would too. So I don't know if... What if... This is just a what if. But what if Shadowbringers turns out not to be that good? Is that going to be like catastrophic? Are we setting us up for failure?
I really don't think so. I think Shadowbringers will be probably the best expansion we've had.
I mean,
Probably.
realistically, I would like this game to be the next WoW. Not in terms of spirit, in terms of this is going to be the MMO that carries the MMO out of its out of the MMO genre out of its depression, because MMOs are a dying genre because no one has time for them anymore. A lot of people don't live like they did in the 90s or the 2000s. But I don't want.
That's because all of us who lived in the 90s and 2000s are now adults.
That's another thing I've noticed about this game though. The player base is older. I don't see a lot of young people. Well, maybe it's because it's a sub-based MMO, but
Yeah,
I swear that when I played WoW, there were squeakers around. I don't see squeakers here.
Yeah, that's true. Back in 11, I only knew like 4 people who were way over my age. Like I was like 16, 18, and like a handful of them were in early college and stuff like that. There was no one like older 20s or 30s and stuff like that. But in this game, like it's like our generation is now here, and that's it. There's no squeakers or anything.
Which is that's bad. As much as I don't like squeakers, but what's gonna happen to MMOs when we're gone? Is it just done? Are we over? Like, go home, everybody, pack in, and we can't play MMOs anymore. They're too time consuming and grindy, like everyone said they were.
Well, I think part of it is because a lot of the younger generation is hooked on with mobile games, because mobile games you can play wherever you want. Sure, you can pay money to upgrade and do whatever the hell you want, but it's convenience. It's not you have to be at your computer and pay a sub to play the game.
Maybe this is just my old man talking, but in MMOs you gotta work towards something, right? And you gotta put in the hours to get what you want. Whereas in the mobile games, it's I can just throw money at it, or you get quick satisfaction out of it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's like every single battle royale now.
Yeah, battle royales are good. Like you just hop in, get your quick rush, and you're done.
Oh my god, that Christian preacher was right. Video games are drugs.
Oh, well. I mean, it offers a lot of dopamine, that's for sure.
Wait, does that mean that the Pokemans are pocket demons too?
No, stop that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So let me just catch up on chat here. WoW had the most ridiculous amount of kids. I remember that. And
Yes.
Pi said they're all playing Fortnite. They're all being pulled into the next best thing. There's no depth in mobile games, which I totally agree with, because even the best of the best mobile games, Drugalia Lost, by the way, I love that game. It's a great game, but there's no depth to it. You get your characters, you max out their stats, you learn how to play them optimally, and you're done. That's it. There's nothing more to it. And I feel like that's not a good or sustainable way for games to be going, honestly.
But that's how they kind of are. Like, for example, with the gacha games, right? With fucking Kojima. They abandoned Kojima and they went with gacha shit.
I know, but what happens when this generation moves on? What's going to happen to the next one after that? Like, there's no way Fortnite and games like it are going to last forever. Battle Royale games are going to run their course just like every other genre does. Zombie games, high fantasy MMORPGs, look at what we're playing. It's not going to last, dude. Fire Emblem Heroes.
Fire Emblem MMO.
I'd love
Please.
a Fire Emblem MMO. That'd be fun.
Well, the other big issue about MMOs and why they don't really stick around is because, well, Final Fantasy is a good game, right? WoW used to be a good game. 11 used to be a good game. Mabinogi used to be a good game. What other good MMOs are there? Not a lot, right? But there are a lot of
Ragnarok Online.
Ragnarok. But the
Ultima.
thing about these Ultima. But the thing about those are much older, and they were like the trendsetters, right? so you
Yeah.
didn't really have anything to compare them to. Now we got an assortment of MMOs, a majority of which are bad. They are bad. They are. You can easily say that they're just a quick cash grab type of game.
Mhm.
BDO.
BDO. It's a fun game, but it's the you throw money to progress, and it kind of sucks because then all the bad players just fucking wail out their fucking wallets. But anyway, um, you got. And like you can't do that here in Final Fantasy. You actually gotta get good, son. But here, like you don't have that many good MMOs, and the good MMOs that are around, they're not quick satisfaction type of games. You gotta grind. You gotta put in your hours. It's kind of like real life, and some people kind of just don't want that. They go to the mobile games. They go to some other type of game, some offline type of game. But as far as MMOs, the reason MMOs are kind of dying is because one part, I think, which is the bigger explanation, is you just have a lot of MMOs that are bad. For example, what was that game called that you bought, Supa?
Bless Online.
Yeah, Bless
Oh, God.
Online.
It got
That literally
yeah.
literally only lasted 1 month
It got-
before it went under.
It got shut down last week.
Fucking LOL.
For good.
Yeah, the servers went offline.
Rep.
Dang.
And and you have these developers like with Bless Online who are hyping up their game, and then they fail to deliver on fucking everything. And that's the big problem with MMOs nowadays, is that you have all these games, and the developers are only kind of looking at it as a quick cash grab, and the gameplay is actually garbage. And so why is anyone going to stick around for that?
That's a good point, but I don't know. It just seems like maybe gaming is just moving on from this kind of content, which I really hope is not the case, because I'm gonna lose interest in video games so fast if that's the case. But maybe our day isn't here yet. Final Fantasy XIV is doing a very good job at holding baby's first MMO's hand and stuff, and I see a lot of people who play this who say, this is my first MMO. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I don't know. WoW's gonna go under if this keeps up. I'll give it another couple expansions before I finally say, without ironically saying it, WoW's dead. And it's been dying a long time. They don't release numbers anymore for a reason. But I just don't want all of us to stack all of our hopes on one game for MMOs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because if like, God forbid, this game went under, like Yoshida left the dev team or something, and Takana's back, and he's bringing in like destroying your own materia to get the gear and stuff.
Oh no!
And
don't be like BDO. That's exactly a mechanic in BDO.
And like I and this game goes under, like that's it. Like, what other MMOs do you know other than FFXIV that really do well? And WoW still to a degree.
ESO is doing kind of good.
ESO is all right, but
They just put out a new expansion.
There's the one problem Bethesda's on that title. But anyway.
And Bethesda used to be a good company, but now...
Dude, Todd Howard needs to, like, stop.
The Bethesda conference is about to start, by the way.
I stopped caring after Fallout 4. Like, ever since then, it's just been
I played 76, and I was just happy with how it ended. And
you played that?
76 was great, dude. I played Fallout 1 and 2, and 76 was like the end of an era. I was so happy. Because that Fallout 1 and 2 never really got an ending, and it came in the form of Fallout 76.
76 was a...
not 76.
One, right?
Yeah, 76 was the online one.
No, not 76. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the New Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, New Vegas is amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was 76 sucked. Let me just catch up and check. ArcAge, BDO, QAge. QAge was great pie. We sat in queue for hours. Arcade was interesting, just bad foresight of what's needed, and now it's just Shadow laughing at me.
Yeah. Arcade. I wanted to play that game so badly when I first heard about it. It sounded like the game I wanted to play. And then when it finally came out in NA release, it was the most garbage thing ever.
I think a big part of the problems MMOs are having is they some of them do implement these really good features, but there's too many people that are looking for a good MMO. That one MMO, what's the next big MMO that's gonna revitalize the genre, and it's just we keep falling flat because there's no way to do it correctly. Our expectations are too high, which is why I don't rag on 14 too much. I mean, yeah, LOL 1.0 code system limitations, lol, but they're trying. They're trying their best. I don't doubt that for a second.
I mean, the one thing, and this is something that I don't hear about from like other MMO devs or anything, but I've heard from Yoshi P say, he has his team play this game. Like his team actually plays Final Fantasy 14. I don't hear about other devs playing their own game. Like if you're not playing, if you play your own game and you find it's not fun, then why are you making it? But Yoshi P has his team play this game.
Yeah, he himself plays it.
Yeah,
he has.
Great.
He talks about his alt character sometimes that he says, I can't reveal who I am, but I'm just another player with you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I want a dev who is actually like invested in his own game. He plays his own game, and can see it from our perspective. Because if you see it from our perspective, you can see where we're going to bitch and complain, where we're going to say this is great, more of this kind of stuff should be added. And whereas if you don't play the game, you're only seeing it from behind the building point, and you don't really get to see how fun it is in the end.
Yeah, and I think that's WoW's big problem. I don't think a lot of their devs actually play the game. How many times have they brought back Hard versus Alliance? They've just made them fight for fun, like some bullshit lore reason that comes up.
And I get one other thing, since we've been talking about my fanfic earlier. This is just an example. Like you have a lot of people who, like, for example, they want to get into writing. They want to be a professional novelist. They want to be a professional author. But then when you ask them, who's your favorite author? What are your favorite books? What's your favorite series to read? Who are your most disliked authors and stuff? What's your most disliked genre and stuff like that? And you ask these to these new writers and stuff, and they kind of come up like, I don't have a favorite author. I don't have really a favorite genre. I just want to write, kind of thing. And that's not how it works. And I see the similar attitude in game development. You have these people who are not gamers, but they're like, I want to make a game, but you don't actually game. How do you know what's fun for a game then?
I mean, we've run into this problem before in the gaming industry. There's a lot of people who don't play video games, but for some reason hold positions within it. There's a lot. Look at Tanaka, the original director for this game. He is not a gamer. He does not play video games. He is a corporate business suit that was assigned to this position by Square Enix head of division, and he quit because he finally realized after FF11 that it wasn't going to fly a second time because there's competition now.
Yeah, basically.
FF11 only flew like it did because MMOs were a new thing when he did it. But we run into this with gaming journalism as well. We run into it with...
Everything is Dark Souls. Everything is comparable to Dark Souls.
Everything is Dark Souls.
It's just hard. Because it's just hard.
But and then we run into the problem like these gaming journalists aren't even gamers. They just cover the stuff.
Yeah. And like I play Dark Souls. I played the third one. I haven't played the first or second one, mainly because, I haven't gotten around to buying them yet. But, like, it's not really even that hard, right? You just have to know... You have to not be a dumbass, basically, when you play those games.
Basically, yeah.
Like, if you're not a dumbass, you'll get along fine, which is, like, my experience. Like, whenever I fucked up, it was like, oh, I was being a dumbass. I rushed too quickly, or I should have parried when I tried to get that extra blow in. I should have been more cautious, kind of thing. But, like game journalists, like, everything's hard for them because they don't understand gaming. Like they're not actual gamers or anything,
And
but
that's
they want to talk about it. And
that's
it's like,
the big problem, I think, is a lot of tech companies don't hire gamers. They hire qualified people, which is what you should do. But if they don't have that background, that integral background of, you know, knowing how video games should and shouldn't play, you're screwing yourself like bad.
yeah, like if I were running a game journalist company, like on the resumes, I want to see this type of, I would want to see the background that you know something in writing, and your hobbies include playing video games, and I want to see what genre of video games you play. Because if you're like, you know, you're like a fucking PhD master's student of writing, where every fucking person in the world is like, this is the best writer in the world, and you want to cover MMOs, but your favorite games are mobile games, I'm not gonna put you on the fucking MMO page of my journal. I'm gonna put you on the mobile game journal. Because you're not going to know jack shit about MMOs unless you actually play them. But that's not how they think. That's not how they hire.
That guy from Rock Paper Shotgun that came to the Fan Fest and asked about in-game brothels.
Oh my god.
He doesn't even play video games. All right, let me catch up on chat real quick. How do you think the influx of WoW players will affect the endgame rating of FFXIV? So that one, if the WoW players don't bring the attitude that what World of Warcraft has toward rating, and they bring it to this game, and they adapt to how this game approaches rating, which, by the way, isn't great either, but it's better than what they were doing. It'll be great. We need rating. We need more raiders, especially on Crystal. Kai and I are painfully aware of that. I think even
I'm aware of that. Trying to find an eighth person is like pulling teeth.
I think Zinvo has been very disheartened by the state of Duty Finder.
It's so bad.
So we do need some more confident people in here, and if the World of Warcraft people is where they come from, then I would very much enjoy having them here. Let me just Pi says Dark Souls is not hard, you just have to be patient, which I totally agree with. Shadow says, I played all the Dark Souls games, didn't beat Demon Souls because I never had the chance to. Dark Souls is learned by seeing and knowing how to fight, which, yeah, it's the whole game. As long as you don't have the reaction times of a dead raccoon. Xana says, imagine writing about football and knowing nothing about the game. That sounds a lot like a lot of football journalists, but I'm not going to say anything. Shadow says, I wish Total Biscuit was still alive. He was good and disclosed that I am terrible at these types of games, so my opinion is painted worse. Total Biscuit was cool. I miss him. I wish there were more people that covered video games like he did, but that time's come and gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You can still find some of his old Steam reviews. They pop up every once in a while on my thing. I think we've about covered everything, though. There's no really, do you guys want to go over something we didn't go over, or?
I can't think of anything. Personally.
It was kind of a one-sided podcast tonight, because Kai doesn't know anything about WoW, and Ophi's not here. Philo and Zinvo both have experience, and I'm just, I carried it with my general knowledge of gaming industry.
I was just here to be pretty.
Kai is here to be our actual living pride flag. We here at Honorable Musings support Pride Month, but so does the whole game. So take that for what it's worth. Shadow says, I know WoW plenty. I just abandoned it after Legion. I think a lot of people did. Legion, Burning Crusade, I think a little bit after Burning Crusade, people jumped. BFA is the big catalyst, though. I think finally, there's.
Well, yeah, that was the.
It was just the crack that broke the dam. It's just It's just everyone in WoW has been holding off for so long for this new expansion, new thing that's going to save the game, and I think a lot of people are just finally saying, fuck it, I'm not playing this anymore, which is very bad. So I think we're gonna close it out here. I think we covered it pretty well. I'm hoping that all our new WoW friends adapt well to this game and bring their own advantages to the table as well. I hope to see you guys at the next iteration of Baldessian Arsenal. The amount of people who cleared that when I did it was not a lot, and I need more friends. All right.
I also need an 8 from my static, a dragoon or monk. Please apply to Philotheodis. That's Theodix. Yes, it is. Looks like the Odix, but it is not pronounced as such. And I am on Coral.
Neko has a great point. Please read all your tooltips, all the text, please. There's no reason for you to not be doing your aggro combo when you're MTing unless you have established aggro already. Please do not pull with Voke. Please do not pre-cast Medica 2. Please do not think hide works mid-combat and ask why it's not working. Do not think leyline stack. All right.
But always stand the Black Mage's ley lines even if you're not a caster.
All right, that's gonna do it for tonight. We'll meet up again next week. Aggro combo is going away. Not technically. You only have one combo now, and that's your aggro combo. So you have fun with that. I'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Lates.